guys, how's it? Welcome again to another commentary session in GTSport SA. This time around in Pool 5, race number 6, Season 3. So thank you again for joining us. Welcome. Hope you guys are going to enjoy this session. It's Monza, it's Italy, it's fucking race number 6 already. What can I say? Times went so fast by, and it's been really an enjoyable one up until now. So let's take a look at how Monza goes, and I'll dig you guys into the race as it gets started up. Now before we kick off, as you guys know, with every single start of a race, somebody gets promoted and somebody gets relegated. And just before I kick off the race, I'm going to hit a bit of a pause just to go over the guys that got demoted into pool number 5, and so we're just going to take a quick look at these guys, and before we kick off with the race. I know it's always something that I like to do before the start of the race, just to build us that anticipation for the guys that we're going to be tackling on this race. Now first up we've got Savvy Gotcha Ass, very interesting name, but I'm just going to call him Savvy for now. Savvy qualified first for this race. He went with the, I think it's a Hurricane Lamborghini, and strange thing about Savvy last season finished I think 31st. Put it in perspective, that's about 7 positions above Trosk, who finished 38th last season. Strangely enough, Savvy probably didn't do the seasoning for the season, because I took a look at the previous pools, and I think he's actually started in pool 9 at the beginning of the season and just sort of worked his way pretty much up into where he is. I think he's actually dropped a couple of pools for non-participation throughout some time of the tournament, but as we can see, an interesting driver, a very good driver, qualifying first in this pool and also finishing 31st last season. So let's take a look and see what Savvy does throughout the rest of the race. But again, a top racer, no doubt about it. Next up we got Tooney. Now Tooney, everybody should know Tooney. Tooney is always talking in the chats. Very strong racer. Tooney finished 18th last season. That is probably the strongest guy that I've driven against in this tournament so far. So Tooney was always going to be a strong competitor in this race. Tooney's come down from pool number 5, from pool 4. Sorry, you're not exactly sure what happened in his last ride. I'm not sure if it was non-participation or just had managed to not get the grip with the previous race. But yeah, man, he's here and he's ready to show us what he can do. The other promoters we got is KBR Valentino, Sahil, Lunatic, but most of those guys have already been in pool number 6, so I won't really go over them. So let's just kick off with the race and see what goes down in Monza. So thanks again for that small little intro, and let's see if the race leaders can kick us off and see what these guys do from the takeoff. I think it was a false start. Oh, it was a standing start, a grid start, but I don't think there was a false start check. So a lot of guys sort of taking their chances on this takeoff, and see how it goes. We're coming around the first corner. Eyes on Savvy Gotcha. Tooney slightly next to him. Trosk side by side in coming to T1. Always a turn that you've got to take a look for. Savvy goes out first. Trosk comes in. KBR. There's a couple of pile up at the end of the track. And Eric goes into the dust. I think it was me. I tried giving Eric some space there. Really felt shit as the race proceeded. Couldn't really give Eric too much space there. And I think at this point he fell about 4 seconds behind. It's really hope Eric, as I was driving, I was hoping Eric would actually recover from that. So we'll take a look at the race and see how he does. Coming into the straight after the second chicane, Savvy's still out there. Tooney in second. Trotsky, third place at this time. Definitely had a lot of practice before this race started. I remember Trosk was about 2 or 3 different lobbies I managed to catch Trosk in, and always seemed to have done well in those lobbies. So I was definitely going to look forward to what Trosk was going to do, and if I could get close to Trosk, I knew that I would have a decent race here. But let's take out the guys come into this third chicane, if you want to call it. Still in those Savvy leading the way with Tooney behind Trosk. Got those nice little Prince Vinnig driving with the crazy 8s, not too far behind here. Sahil's in 5th position at the time. We'll take a look where he finishes towards the end of the race, but does find himself in 5th position right now, so we're going to have to take a look and see how that goes. KBR Valentino close behind Andries. Welcome again, Andries managed to join us just in time before the race started. Also driving that Bugatti Veyron, which is one of the popular picks in this race. It was either the Veyron or the Hurricane. Good balance between the two cars in this race, but let's take a look at T1 in the 2nd lap now, as we take an eye on Sahil. Clean out to those corners, no real penalties from this first turn. Lunatic up in there with his Lambos, followed by Blade, who's also one of the guys who's come down from pool 4. So we take a look how he does in the race. I managed to pull myself in 12th position at this time, coming past Scorpio, Sandshark, and Eric still fighting at the back. And at this time I was still driving. I was thinking like, damn, I just hope Eric can make it back into this race. And that's sort of been playing on my mind throughout this entire first sector, as we see Scorpio coming over that chicane there. Starting to see a couple of separations coming up between the drivers right now. Small, not really clear that whether the packs are forming at this stage, but definitely a lot of still lots of driving to go, and Scorpio goes a bit wide there. Sandshark capitalizes on it. I think Eric still managed to find his way back from that 4-second lead. 4-second loss that he suffered earlier. Let's go into chicane number 3 earlier on that break, sliding a bit there, hitting the dust there. Ooh, I managed to. Did he take it quite badly? I even forgot about that one. Taking a look at Sandshark, he capitalizes on it. And I think at this stage there was very strong evidence that a small pack was going to form in this bottom 4 over here. We take a look at these guys again later on this. Let's make our way to the front of the pack. It's going to bring in more of the race info as we do this. Excellent shot coming through the start line. Savvy and Tooney battling it out. These two were pretty much neck on neck for most of the race coming into T1. Tooney just giving it enough space there. Thought he'll get in the in-cut. Doesn't seem to do it. Close behind with a little bit of a slide. But again, small little pack forming up in the top 3. We take a look at these 3 making good time in that 2nd lap. 157.13 on that 2nd lap. His eye must have been really in at this stage, considering that's a really good time. I mean, I managed to pick up 157.4 as my best lap, ever. So Savage really got that pace with this with the lumber. Tooney close behind. Not exactly clear on the gap, but I think this time each of them are sitting in one another's slipstream, so there's not going to be much room for slipping away, Savvy. Slightly with Tooney away from Trosk here, but as the guys come into this corner, very clean on each exit. I think these 3 will stay like this for some time. Stepping a bit further back, you got Brits Vanach, who also just managed to make the racing time. Somewhat of an arrive, not exactly arrive and drive, but you could call it that way with not much warm-up. He manages to find himself in 4th position, which is excellent. KBR Valentino. Remember the days of KBR from pool 6 in race 1. He had 2 mistakes in that race and still managed to find a podium position. So I knew Valentino definitely has got that pace. So we'll take a look at how he does towards the end of the race. But a small little pack forming up between these 2 as they come out to the long straight. Final turn, and let's see how these 2 do. See if KBR can get in closer enough to Brits Vanach to get that slipstream. Tucks in very neatly behind him. Make sure he stays in the slip. See if there's any overtaking opportunity. And interestingly enough, this pack really makes himself known behind him. Let's take a look at this pack over here. We've got Lunatic in there, Sohail, Andries, and Lee Racing. Let's see what this pack does as they come to T1. Lunatic takes the lead in this pack here as they come into T1. Sohail nice and late in the break. Lunatic takes the inside line though, comes in there nice and clean. He's slow out of the corner there, Sohail, and Andries gives him a bit of a nudge. Not too much. Oh, something happened to Lee there. He picked up a pin exiting that corner. He's got to look out because he's got Blade not too far behind. as we take a look at Andres in this excellent blue livery. It's something similar I've seen from DC in race number 5. So really wonder if the two has got some sort of connection going, but really dope livery as we take Lunatic out of this corner. That second chicane, always very tricky to get. It's easy to get a penalty in these turns, and Sahil ends up picking up one as we come out of that corner. Talked about Andres a bit earlier. Let's take a look now. 3 seconds the penalty is down from Sahil. He managed to burn a little bit off there. 1 second burn from Lee. So these guys have got to be careful. They also don't want to lose the pack as the net splits a little bit further ahead. Pack for KBR just riding past our screen. You've got Lunatic still pulling away. Andres coming around the corner, and these two, oh, what happened to Sahil? Just drives out, and this is how it happened to Sahil. Remember, we talked about Sahil being 5th position in lap 2, and I've always wondered what happened to him throughout the race as I was watching the replay, and you can see that he seated dirt on that 3rd chicane. Lunatic coming through the straight. Andres not far behind. Slight gapping building up between the two now. Penalties considered, and just, well, the sheer raw pace that we got from Lunatic. As we keep our eye on Lee Racing, I think he's got to try and burn this before the first turn. Goes straight with that 6 second, 0.6 second penalty. Blade now catching up, and Lee's got to try and burn it before Team 1. Does so. Doesn't compromise his race completely, but does make a small split between him and the race leader of that pack, is Lunatic. Excellent driving from Lunatic. Just keep his calm and split away from this pack. And ooh, it looks like Blades managed to come up into 8th position now, capitalizing on those penalties. Lee's not going to give up with any fight. Two is glued behind one another. Lee decides to come on the inside. Blade excellent capitalizing on that. Two very similar cars at this stage. Just take a look at the tires here. Sorry about that. Blades running on the hards at this time. Lee's on the mediums. You can see the wears a little bit there. I actually like the Lambo, or sorry, the Veyron on the hards. They seem to have done such a good job for me. Not exactly sure how the Lambo drives on the hards or mediums, but definitely can see some good pace put up from these two in the 159s from Lee. Manages to take Blade on the straight, but let's see what comes into this corner. We know Lee picked up a bit of a penalty in this corner earlier, takes it a lot cleaner this time, but Blade slowly follows him out there. And let's make our way down the race pack. In 10th position we got Scorpio, and I think at this stage there's also a bit of a pack forming up between this last 4 drivers, myself included. Scorpio, I believe this is the Genesis, I could be wrong. No, this is the Jaguar, I think. I'm not exactly sure which car this one is. I think it's the Jaguar. I'm not sure what make it was, but very left field pick from Scorpio. Got that pink footprint in the livery. Looks super excellent. As they come out into lap number 6, and this time it was sort of almost pit time, and I think this was the incident with Trosk and myself. I just wanted to get a look at this one as we come in here, and this oh, some crazy stuff going down here. We come into the T1. Let's see what happens through the exit. Scorpio goes wide. Trosk takes the inside and manages to come out of it on top, but not unscathed. As you can take a look in your left-hand screen, you can see that Trosk has actually got that bumper damage, and this was actually raised to me after the race. That I managed to hit Trosk a little bit too hard out of as he's coming to the pits. There wasn't much space for me to move into it, and we did sort of have a bit of a talk about it after the race. And you take a look at my car, I've got no damage. So unlucky for Trosk, and I really didn't feel. It's really a shit feeling to compromise someone's race like this. I mean, I hit him on the exit of the pit, and I was sort of wondering, you know, Trosk was sort of dropping off the pace from me every now and then, and finally got an explanation for why that is. He's lost a bit of power as I managed to hit him over there. But let's take a look at as we come into the 3rd chicane. just managed to sneak in front of Trosk. We just sort of kept a little bit away from each other. You don't want to knock the guys. They come into those braking zones. You just don't exactly know when the guy's braking line is, so you just got to make sure you keep that distance. But even with the slight core damage, Trosk still managed to making good time, keeps in that slipstream over here, and this sort of last pack forming with Trosk being pulled into this one. Very unlucky. I really don't have any words for myself at this point in time, because I had no clue, one, that I was going to knock him so hard, and once I finally did get the touch, I was completely clueless as to whether he's actually picked up some damage, but at this time losing quite a bit of pace, because you can see Scorpio also comes past him at this stage, and really race compromising knock there for Trosk, and so unlucky for that. Comes out this. Okay, let's take a look a bit at Sandshock. See if we can see a bit more detail in this livery. We're in lap number 7, still some time to go. Remember last race Sandshock was going with the silver livery, and he's got that silver this time again in his Bugatti livery, so very, very good to see. Coming into chicane number 2, gets those corners right. And at this point in time, you've got to know what your corners is like. You've been driving this course for a good couple of laps, and you should be able to know what it's about. This particular corner over here I find quite tricky to do. Always got to be careful about that corner, especially as the tires start to wear in the car. So good to see that not many mistakes from those corners. Let's take a look further back. So Sahil's dropped into relegation positions. Well, actually not yet. Relegation positions is in the 13th spot, so he's down here with the last crew. Eric's in there. Andries, something managed to happen to Andries in this point in time, pulling him into that bottom crew, so we'll have to see. But Andries, again, like I mentioned, never had too much practice. Goes slightly wide there as he tries to pick up pace on an exit. Sahil picks up a penalty again at this point. Really wasn't his best day today. Unfortunate here and there. Eric managed to come past here at this point. And those excellent custom liveries the guys managed to do before the race, and I was ecstatic at this point, because I was still sitting with that chip on my shoulder for not giving that much space to Eric in the first lap, and I was really hoping he'd come out to the relegation zone, so this was good to see. Andries never got much practice before the race, so hopefully one of his, he'll probably have gotten a better race had he got that practice. It's just unfortunate. Lunatic further behind at this point, 14th. I think he's coming for the pit. You can see the tires are fresh on the racing mediums. Now this is something that we brought up to Lunatic's attention. I think Lunatic never knew exactly what the race limitations and conditions was for the race. I think he ended up finding out afterwards that racing on hards was a requirement. It's just something to laugh about at the chats afterwards. Lunatic giving a little bit of his strategy away for us in that session, telling us that normally he just arrives and drives, copies the other guy's tactics, and usually that works for him. I think Lunatic's probably going to need to do a bit more research in upcoming races, opposed to those sort of gunslinging strategy. Sounds a bit dodgy to follow throughout most of the season, but Lunatic probably a nice learning curve. So let's move away from Lunatic as pick up that penalty. Guys coming into the pit now. Savvy still in that lead. He's still on the racing softs coming into lap number 9. Tooney's in the pits. Very similar tyre wear between the two, but you can see the Veyron's got a bit more chow out of it. And Savvy thinks he can carry on with the condition of those tyres into one more lap. Let's take a look further back. Massive gap between Savvy now and Brits Vinnig. Brits is on the hard at this point in time. He's gone into the pits early, slightly wide there. That tends to happen once you change your tyres. You've got to get used to that braking line again. So Brits at this point in time, a nice little gap in front of Lee. Lee's coming in on that mediums. I'm not sure at this point in time if he's put it at this stage. Those mediums do seem like they can carry for at least another 3 laps. Blade close with Lee at this point in time. I think Blade did come in for the pits though. He's on the hards at this point. And just an excellent race from Blade, considering he was not too far ago in a 10th position. I must admit, I think Blade probably, as he watches this video, I never knew too much about Blade. I saw Blade was actually in pool 4 only after we've driven the race, but I have driven with Blade in one of the test lobbies, and Blade seemed to be cutting corners every now and then. I thought, okay, probably not much of a racer. I didn't expect him to, I didn't think he was coming down from pool 4. I thought actually he may have come up from pool 6, and I was completely in the wrong at this stage. Blade is actually a very good driver, and shows it in the way he's come from that, clawed back that 10th position into 4th. I think he finishes this race in 4th at the end of it. We'll take a look as a reminder, but again, another top racer that just shows you the quality in pool 5. It's a pity that Tooney and Savvy is going to leave us. It would have been nice to see how we would fare against them in different races, but you know, the quality is too good. What can you do? The guy's going to leave us. Coming into the last turn now in lap number 9. Tooney making up those ground. The Veyron's always going to challenge in that straight line. He's on the fresher tires, on the soft this time. Quite a few people pitting here. I find myself in 5th position at this time. I think, yeah, I'm still on the odds from race 1. You can see those tires not doing too bad on the odds on the Veyron. This is what I was talking about earlier with the Veyron and the odds. Is I think to find it very good. And this point I was doing in and around 158. That was my best lap, and it was my last lap at this point. So really came into my tires at this point with the Repsol livery that I just sort of downloaded probably about a month ago when the daily races was up. So anyway, too much waffle on liveries. Let's move on. At this point we got Trotsky. Trotsky's still carrying that bumper injury, but at this point in time not too far behind. I think he's about 2 to 3 seconds behind. We still managed to keep up with the pace, considering I did come out of the you know, in his racing line during the time of the pits. So to keep up with me with that damage, really excellent driving. Just while we're on the topic here with Tosk, I mean, guys, let me tell you, it's the absolute worst feeling knowing that you compromise someone's race. I mean, it's a different thing picking up a shortcut penalty and potentially getting penalized for that. But once you knock your fellow driver, it's you know, compromising someone else's race. It's really the worst feeling, and I something lesson to learn for me. Really not intentional. I think Trosk managed to did acknowledge that at the end of the race, but still doesn't take away that bad bitter feeling that I have inside for doing what this to Trosk race. I mean, I think he was up in punching positions with Tooney and Savvy at the start of the race. So I'll take a look how that unfolds. But again, got to move on. KBR Valentino now in 7th position. He was in close proximity with Lunatic at this earlier in the race, but I think stopped off slightly. He's done a pit recently as well on the racing mediums this time. Interesting choice for the mediums though. Few guys going mediums. Well, if you include it was Lee, Lunatic, and KBR Valentino. Would like to hear from the guys what they thought about for the Veyron specifically on the mediums. I felt you could probably do it with the softs as we come into T1 at this point. Large gaps forming between the different races, so not too much to talk about. Now we got Eric. I'm not sure. I think Eric is still on that first stint with the racing odds. You can see so much tires to spare in this race. Fuel is there though, but excellent time for Medic to make his way up and consistent, you know, considering that first 4-second split that he's got there. Now Lunatic and Lee were talking about putting up a good fight between one another at during the text chat after the race. So let's hang around these two for a bit and see what the pace looks like and what the battle looks like. For large parts, very similar livery between, in fact, probably the exact same livery driven between Lunatic and Lee. Blade also in the mix here in 10th position. He's just come up to the pits. He's on the softs at this time, so mediums for Lunatic. Lee's on that hard, so interesting position from each of them. And you can see how this race unfolds. Mediums has got a bit of wear on it as they come out of turn 3. KBR Eric in Lunatic's sides, probably just missing on the slip at this point. Does look like Lee's slightly further behind than what Lunatic is to Eric, so he's probably definitely out of the slip. Blade coming in very aggressively into the last turn, and can he find that swing? Nice corner if you get that one right. Let's make our way further back. Scorpio still in the Jag. I think this is the Jaguar Lex F-Type. Oh, it's the F-Type, yes. I remember seeing that at the end of the race. It's the F-Type Jaguar. So Hale, 12th position. Andries and Sandshark still here. Sandshark never gave a bit too much away from why he is actually. He gave a small little paragraph about why his race has been slightly awkward here. I'm keen to hear. Read that again, just hear what he said about the race. But let's take a look at Sandshark again as we come back up. Let's make our way back through the pack. Brits Vinnig leading the way at this point in time. He's on very little fuel at this stage, really pushing that racing hard. 12 laps on it. Not too much, not too bad tire wear though. Driving with the automatic, something I've got to ask the guys who do their driving in automatic, if there's any additional settings you can do here, because I seem to I drive manual primarily just to save fuel, but I've seen guys save fuel a lot more efficiently than what I have on automatic, so I'm not entirely sure if there's a setting or something that they use for this. Large gaps opening up here. Tooney already done that pit and already sees himself only a handful of seconds away from Brits Vinnig, so he'll take pole as we come into lap number 13. Excellent diving from Tooney, very consistent on those times. 1:57, those are definitely pull 4, pull 3 times. Hanging on Tooney. I remember Tooney saying in the chat that he doesn't feel too intimidated by pool 5 because quote, it's only pool 5. So a little bit of cockiness, a little bit of game from Tooney. I just want to stir the pot a bit there, but bring it, guys. I mean, well, that's what it's all about, you know. What's the competitive racing game without a bit of banter? Tooney picks up his best sector this time. He's going on the softs here. The softs is very well driven in here. I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up a 1:56 at the end of this lap. Now Savvy burning off a penalty by this stage. Zero penalty. Probably just here for the cameras to show that there was something there. Was probably got like 0.00 something seconds of that penalty to burn off. But he's also come into the pits, and at this time I think Savvy won the race. I actually want to see how this unfolds because he's quite a bit of a gap away from Tooney at this stage. He's got a penalty. He's on the racing hards. Tooney's on the softs at the moment. I know they're slightly worn down, but there's not that much laps to go. So it's going to be an interesting finish to the race. Watching these two take it out. And there's really no other competition after that. To KBR Valentino, probably a good 5 to 10 seconds behind the front two. Also a good strong dive. He's also on his last pit. He's got the racing hards to go through to the last couple of races. He comes out this corner. And now Brits Vinnig on the C8s as a C8 driver. I didn't really know this. Always forget about this until I see Brits in the lobbies. We see just Brits Vinnig in his Discord chat, and it's good to know that he's actually part of the Crazy 8s. So take a look how Brits dives this one. Excellent dive from Brits, though. I think he finishes 3rd at the end of the race, and Yeah, man, considering he did come late, I am touted to put Brits as my diver of the day for the day. So that's my personal diver of the day. Brits, congratulations for that. And that counts for anything. Now Blade coming up into the state, followed by Lunatic. We'll take a look as this unfolds. Slight gaps building up between the divers now. And this is what you get from Monza. Sometimes there are these some would say boring middle stints, and I did warn the guys there's going to be a lot of kakprat during this race as I wait for the gaps to close down. But that's what you get. And then take a look at the divers now. I'm on the racing soft. I've just come into the pits recently as well. Those hards I felt could carry me quite a while. I'm behind Lee at this point in time. Lee's on the hards, so we'll see how this unfolds. I think I just managed to tout Lee in the race. Scorpio's on the soft. He's also coming for his last lap, and Trosk managed to go back into the pits just to recover a little bit of the time for the earlier knock, and he's determined. See this little battle going on between the two. He's determined to make up the positions. I'm sure he's hoping that that name Scorpio would actually be Sham, so he can give me a bit of a nudge off the course at this stage. But the two keeps it clean side by side as they come into the last turn for that sector. Excellent take from Trosk. It's on the better tires, somewhat only, not by much, but I would always bank on the Veyron over the F-type, especially on these straights with these straights. Coming to the last chicane, takes it nice and clean. He hits a little bit of that outside curve there and then takes it over. That's also another easy penalty zone if you get that one wrong. But looks like Scorpio did come fast out of that corner as the two come into the last turn for this particular track. And you can see Scorpio goes on the inside. Let's see what Troski does, and just manages to nip in front of him. Late on the brakes there probably. Scorpio had to pull out early, and Trotsky back in the lead. Yeah, excellent driving from the two. I would want to know from Scorpio why he's decided to go with the F-type, but still managed to pull a very respectable lap times. You can see he's on 158 from lap 11 onwards. Very good lap times on the F-type. So really good. Andres still somewhat behind with KBR Valentino. He's on racing hards. He's also gone for his last pits. Now Eric's on the softs at this point in time, so he's expected to probably gain a bit of an advantage over Eric. This might also be a battle considering the Veyron's got that straight line speed. Sandshark and Sohail also in the mix. They can clump close. Let's take a look how this unfolds. I do know that Eric managed to finish a 11th position in this lap, so let's take a look and see where that overtake came. Sorry guys, I lost for words. Jesus, 15 laps of Monza already commenting, so can take your toll on someone. And geez, I need to get me a racer commentating partner. Yeah, it can get pretty draining commenting on this, but hope you guys find it entertaining and at least worth a watch. And this on KBR Valentino. Now I think Eric is probably just gonna take his time before he sees the gap unfold. I'm gonna make my way elsewhere just to see what's going on as we revisit the race. Tooney still in the lead at this point in time, and quite a gap ahead of Savvy. So we have to see what actually happens between these two as these two exchanges positions. And further down the grid in the podium position, we got Brits Vanach behind Valentino. This is also going to be an interesting battle with 2 laps to go. Further behind, we've got Lunatic. Nice little gap he's built up there between himself. I managed to battle a bit with Leah. Let's take a look at the hards. I'm on the mediums versus the hards, so my softs are still okay at this point in time, so I did expect. But Lee, as you know, as ever, Lee isn't going to give up a fight very easy. I think I could get him in the in-cut over here. Managed to fall slightly behind. Lee's still ahead over here, but that Bayron with it getting a bit of the draft there, and he's got that pace sometimes, you know. Some of those earlier gears, not as fast as the Hurricane in those earlier gears, but he's that second gear I think you can find some pace in. And I's going on the outside here, just decided to cut in front of Lee, putting up my best lap time here, and Lee's best lap time was getting slightly confused there, but they're coming out the T1 and I managed to make it slightly out of the Lee's probably ran a little bit too deep into that corner, and I managed to come out of that one. The winner! Lee, maybe next time, Lee. We'll take a look. Wing face. Oh, Lee runs a bit wide here as well, just to add a little bit of insult to injury. And that shows up the 7th position for me. We'll visit that pack again. Let's take a look at the front. Ooh, now Brits van Acht fighting for that pole position. Both on the Veyrons here. This could be an interesting battle. Let's make a little bit forward. Savvy still farther. Tooney decides to put. Now I see Tooney probably could have carried the car for the last 2 laps. I'm very surprised they actually managed to put at this stage. Okay, and that's how Savvy managed to get the lead. Savvy's on a good quarter tank with an excellent amount of fuel. Tooney comes out of the pits, and let's see where he rejoins the crew. This is interesting. I didn't know this happened. Really wonder if Tooney would have reconsidered what he's done. Oh, I see why. He's been driving on the softs for all the stint. He's got to make that hard switch over. Just a reminder to the guys watching the stream that the requirements for the race was that you needed to drive at least 1 lap on the racing hards. Just looking on reflection on that drive right now, if that is Tooney's first pit, it's quite impressive to save that fuel for 16 laps, and as well as the tires over that similar period. It could be his 2nd pit. Still getting used to the racing hards over there. You can see just got to heat up those tires before you come into those turns. The braking lines completely become different once you change on those hards from the softs, so he's slightly getting used to it there, but at least we know how that goes. Inside the Tooney, a little maze. We missed the action between Brits and KBR Valentino, whereas Brits managed to take that 3rd spot. As I mentioned, my driver of the day, considering the trouble that Brits had just before the race. Excellent driving from the SA Brit, the very fast SA Brit. Brits van Acht. Coming into the last chicane now again. You can see the guys just taking this so smoothly now with so much IQ of the track behind them in the 17th lap. KBR not too far behind. Excellent drive from Mr. Valentino as well. Now Blade up in 5th position. Gonna see a lot more from Blade in Pool 5. I think Blade is actually a very good. He is a very good driver. Doesn't need anything to say about it. We're gonna see a lot more from Blade in Pool 5. It's a interesting candidate to have over here. Valentino goes into the pits. I'm not exactly sure why. It doesn't seem like he has any injury, any car injury. I think he's probably going to switch over to that hards for the racing requirements, so that takes him out of the battle with Blitz van Acht. Lunatic in 5th position at this time. Still on the softs here myself, dropping down. We got Trosk, who's had to make that pit, still in a battle with Lee at this point in time. Comes ahead of Valentino inside of the pits, and that puts him up in 7th position. Let's see what Lee can do in this last sector. Oh, goes slightly wide. Trosk, can he get him in the in-cut? Oh, and a bit of a knock outside. And this is what Trosk was talking about. I was wondering about this because Trosk was saying, well done, Lee. And I think I've seen what he meant at this stage. Oh, I think that would be heartfelt from Trotsky. 2 situations of unlucky this race. Surely never meant that. As you know, Lee's got Lee will always put up a fight for the race. Interesting to hear what Trosk would have said about that after the incident. But Valentino now in 8th position. See if he can make some ground up on Lee, and you've got Trosk now in 9th position on a bit of a scrap with a Scorpio. Oh, geez, so unlucky for Trosk. Trosk must be taking some of those Buddha courses just to keep those nerves under check. I mean, I can imagine he may have been furious with this race. 2 very big incidents happening to Trosk, and just my heart goes out to Trotsky. Excellent driver as well, considering he was in those podium positions at the start of the race. Let's make our way to the front of the grid so we don't mess up too much. Sevi, got your ass. Does he come over the line? Yes. And the checkered flag is up. We've got Tooney in 2nd position. Excellent drive from Tooney. keen to hear if he would have changed his strategy. Brits vannacht missed large parts of Brits' race, but managed to find himself in that position. Blade in 4th, Lunatic in 5th, excellent drive and drive. Unfortunately, takes a bit of the pin with the with the 2 mediums. I come in 6th at this point in time. A little bit of a crook, 6th. Lee comes in 7th, and KBR Valentino crosses that checkered line. Excellent diving from the 2, and Trotsky. Oh, Trotsky, if you need a punching bag, you can just call me up anytime. I'll sure to comply. Eric finishes in 11th, also again struggling at the start with that wide run. Again, I was involved in that one. Really not the best feeling. We got Andries in 12th and Suhail in 13th. Sandshark in 14th. And geez, that just wraps up a very, very eventful race, guys. Thanks again for watching this. I couldn't stop speaking this race. I thought there was going to be a lot more fillers that I'm going to need to fill in for this race, but it's actually quite an entertaining one. So yeah, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks you so much for that. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. I certainly did. Very interesting race. It is pool 6, so we're up for pool 7 next, and just a short one on that. We are driving in, I always forget the pronunciation, I think it's a Kuba on the Mazda MX-5 touring car, so that's going to be an interesting race. But thanks again for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed the race. Excellent drivers, and congratulations to Tony, Savvy and Brits Vannacht for getting those podiums. Excellent stuff, guys. I will catch you guys again. Thanks so much for joining us.